So today's video, I'm going to give an updated tier list of all the weapons currently within Warzone. I did a very similar video a couple months ago. A lot of people have been requesting it recently because they've added a bunch of new guns. They've done some weapon tweaks and then just overall how the meta has shifted in Warzone with the various nerfs, buffs. So that's what we're going to do today. And then I'll go ahead and show off some of my favorite class setups. If you do enjoy the video, learn something new, please do me a favor, hit that like button. Go on today's video's 4,000 likes. If you're brand new, looking to find your way back for more Call of Duty content, make sure you are subscribed with notifications on. Also, just a quick heads up, my Gfuel code is boosted for the next 2 days all the way until September 18th, and I don't think I'll get another boost probably until somewhere in October. So if you're looking to stock up or just try one of the variety packs, definitely now's the time to do it. Link near the top of the description, or just code JGOD at checkout. So we'll go ahead and go through these. Some of these, like I said, I'm going to speed through. Snake shots, they got nerfed. I don't really recommend those. Can they insta melt you at point blank range? Yes, they can still be very viable in that range, but they're very niche. Obviously, if you come back last ditch effort, you're not going to be running overkill, you're grabbing ghost as your zone 5 loadout. They can work, but definitely not the way to go. The regular no, I wouldn't use that at all. This is a Kimbo as well. Desert Eagle, I don't think it's all that good. It takes way too many shots. 725, I guess you could use that as a troll gun, because if you hit both shots, it's kind of like the R9, but the R9 does it better. So I'd kind of put that in the don't really recommend category, even in solos. AK-47, this has 5.56, but it's those other rounds. I think those are pretty good. I think those could be viable in solos, duos, just because that 40 round mag, even though the damage on these is pretty solid, I don't really like a 40 round mag on my rifles when it comes to Warzone. 45 is kind of pushing it with the AMAX, which we'll see, but in general, the AK-47, I'm not really a fan of that. The AK-47, again, even the base one, even you put the 75 round drum mag, the problem with the AK is it has a combination of too much recoil or it's too slow. And you can try to solve for either, but then they just make the other part worse. So it takes a lot of skill to use the AK-47, in my opinion. I think you could build it like an SMG and kind of use it like an AMAX, but pretty much the AMAX does what the AK-47 does, but better. Let's go ahead and go through the AMAX. The AMAX is going to be top tier. This one, it can be a little bit tricky to use for some people. I think once you find out how to use the class setup and you balance it properly towards your play style, most people get the hang of it, just because it is very melty, especially if you hit that upper torso and headshots. It just eats, melts armor, and damages players down almost instantly. It feels really good to use it because of how melty it is. AUG 5.56, very good. Could be meta. I think it ends up with the same issue as we talked about the AK-47. It ends up being really slow for an SMG, especially if you're going with the NATO rounds. But then if you go with a 30 round mag, then you don't really have enough ammo. You might as well go with an MP5. So not that it's a bad option, it's just that the MP5 ends up being a better option. MP7, more versatile as far as accuracy at range, even though the 5.56 delivers damage, has a little bit too much side to side bounce as it has that vertical. And even though the iron sights are fairly clean, especially if you use a certain blueprint, I still don't think it's really the way to go. Very good, could be meta. If the MP5 got a nerf, people would kind of be searching for another gun. 5.56 could be it with the 30 round mag. The AUG 9mm, I think it's viable. I don't think it's hard to use. I just think it's viable. But the issue with this one, again, ends up being the ammo. Good for close quarters, especially with how the damage and all that stuff works. But more often than not, it's just not enough bullets. Wasting an attachment to get up to 32 bullets is not really practical, in my opinion. AX-50, very good. Some people, choose the AX-50 as their primary sniper rifle. I think as we get to some of the other options, I think it just sits at very good. Could be meta, but because of the way the bullet dips, it takes a little bit more practice to use it. So it's a little bit less practical than maybe the HDR or the Kar 98. Bruen, still very good. Could be meta again. I've seen a lot of people jump off of that just because the added recoil, even though it's slight, it's enough. The damage values, it takes an extra couple shots. It's just in a good spot where it's not overpowered, but it's not like super hard to use either. It's still very viable and very much could be the meta if a couple of the top weapons received a nerf, which I don't really see that happening. Crossbow, troll, fun. Could you get some good kills with it? Yes, you can have fun with it, but it's not very practical. Dragunov, don't recommend. EBR, this could be like hard to use, viable, but it really relies on headshots. I know I did a video breakdown of this in the SKS, and one of the biggest issues you run into, unless you land back-to-back headshots, it's like a 5 or 6 shots to kill to anywhere else on the body. So the FAL, I would say it's still viable. I don't think it's hard to use. It got nerfed pretty considerably. It went from being like OP, needed a nerf, and then they kind of just put it back in check. It does well at range, but typically you're just gonna be better off using an automatic rifle at range. We got the FAMAS. I would not recommend the FAMAS. Even if you land 3 headshots, point blank, all of them land, it's not a 1 burst kill. And the burst delay is enough where most people are going to gun you. They're good. And most of the way the bullet spread works, it's not very viable at the long ranges. And you're not really going to use it like an SMG. So it doesn't really have a place in the meta. Could people get 40 kills with it? Yeah, if you get the right lobby. If you run into the right people. But in general, I wouldn't recommend it. Fennec Hollow Point. These things are broken, but you only have 12 bullets. So you can double tap. You'll get kills pretty quick with these things, but not very practical in higher quad situations. In a 1v1, these could be good because of the damage value you get at further ranges. But then again, you're going to use your rifle to kind of hybrid with that. This one, the Fennec just has the issue with ammo. It's all he has. The Hollow Point, same thing as when we get with the Striker, we're going to see the same thing. But with the Fennec, the regular one, even with the extended mags, it's just not enough ammo. They need to bump it up to maybe 50. Maybe give it a movement penalty nerf because it bleeds right through ammo too quick. Grout 556, very good. It's been nerfed out of the top tier meta. Obviously, there's some still people that use it, and it could kind of shift back and forth. But after playing with it some time, I still think it's very good. I just don't think it's that top tier meta that a majority of the player base is using. HDR. Top tier meta. I think most people, they're going to either go with this or the Kar 98. This obviously it's just easy to use. The bullets go where you aim them. Pretty straightforward. With the Kar 98, on the other hand, it's just way faster. And if you're going to have to sacrifice, your bullet drop, you might as well go with the Kar 98 over the AX, which we'll get to that. Holger. I think viable, but nothing special. Does good at those medium ranges, but doesn't really excel anywhere else. Joker, troll fun. Cali Sticks, troll fun. And that combines it with the Riot Shield. If you're going to do Riot Shield, you might as well do that. You can say the same thing for the dual swords, the dual Kodachis or whatever they're called. And then the Kar 98 goes to top tier. Kilo, meta, top tier. Knife, again, troll fun. M13 is very good, underrated. And because of its lower damage value, but even though it has, fast fire rate, it's kind of similar to the Fennec, but it just edges out the Fennec in that same issue because you can melt 2 or 3 people, especially if you get those headshots in, because pretty much wherever you hit target, all the bullets are going there because of the rate of fire on the M13 is pretty disgusting, and it excels at anything beyond 80 meters pretty much in the entire rifle category. Maybe the AMAX is going to beat it out, but the accuracy on the M13, no question, is better than the AMAX. So if it had a little bit more damage, it would be very melty and could be top tier. But it's just very good, very viable, good. It could drop up, it could go up or down depending on how you rank your weapons. But I'm going to go ahead and put it very good. Could be meta if a couple of these weapons were nerfed. Pistols, don't really recommend any pistols. Obviously, you get your pistol when you're landing. MG34 is a nasty weapon. This thing melts very quickly, but it has the issue that all LMGs have, so it really caters to a slower playstyle because of the reload time. Obviously, the Bruen allows it to kind of move up here because it has a 60 round mag where you can just swap out the ammo really quickly, versus with the MG, the M91, pretty much all the LMGs, it's a slow reload time. It puts you in a pretty negative position. And then we have the M4. This is the SOCOM rounds. I'm going to put that as hard to use or viable because basically it's a DMR, and I wouldn't really recommend it to use. I mean, it can melt. You only get 10 bullets. 1v1 in solos, this thing could be pretty nasty. It does have quite a kick at range where you might be better off using a sniper rifle or just a high accuracy, rifle, but it kind of falls off there. 9mm. Is it viable as an SMG? Yeah, it's okay. But pretty much, if anyone's using a regular SMG, they're more than likely going to outgun you. And the other issue you run into with the 9mm ammo for the M4 is that you get a small ammo capacity. So you end up with the same issue that the AUG had with the 9mm. The regular M4, I don't think a lot of people consider it meta, even though personally, I think it's top tier. I think it competes with the other two rifles that are up here. I would just put it at very good, because I think it's underrated how good it is, just because so many people jumped off the M4 to go to the Grau, then they went to the Bruen. They kind of forgot about the M4, even though I think it definitely competes with the AMAX and the Kilo. Especially if you're going to run a sniper rifle, it's a great combination to have, especially if you deck it out for a little bit more mobility, ADS speed, and treat it a little bit more like an SMG, but with rifle ammo and damage. M91, again, I put this hard to use, viable. Borderline, I wouldn't recommend, again, because that reload speed, but the damage does fairly well. It doesn't do horribly because LMGs tend to maintain their damage profile a little bit better. The carbine, I wouldn't really recommend it. You have to land multiple headshots. The rate of fire is too slow. The mag isn't even large, so it ends up with a lot of issues. So I'd put the carbine as not really recommend. Model 680. If you want to, be a little trolly, you can put on the Dragon's Breath rounds. I think it is viable if somebody's already a little bit lower health, because you can get those shots in. And if you have perfect accuracy, the time to kill is okay. You get some good range on this one. But overall, I just think it's more of a troll class, and I wouldn't really recommend. If you want to do Dragon's Breath just to be trolly, there you go. MP5, top tier, been top tier since the beginning. They've nerfed it, it's still top tier. And that's kind of how that part goes. MP7, I think that goes top tier as well. As far as the SMGs go, MP5's right there, but still people favor the MP7. There's certain scenarios where maybe you stack the MP7 with the sniper rifle because it does have that versatility. Maybe you combine it with a weapon that, has a little bit slower reload time, like one of these LMGs. So it has enough versatility to be top tier in my opinion. Odin, very good. And I would say it could be meta. It's a hair hard to use, or it's slow. And so it's borderline between hard to use, viable, and very good. I think in a skilled player's hands, this thing is deadly at range. The TTK is very good. It just, for the average player, I think it's a little bit trickier to use, but it's very good. You will get melted by an Odin if that player is good and they're able to hit their shots with it. Origin 12 is currently the meta. It's very annoying meta. Obviously, if you know they have the Origin, you're going to win that gunfight. If you don't know they have it, they are likely going to catch you off guard and win the gunfight, which kind of removes some of the outplay, potential with this thing, and kind of makes it a little bit broken in that sense, because normally you should have enough time to react to the situation so that you can handle the situation properly. But in this case, the Origin doesn't really allow you to do that. You get insta-downed if you're within range. If you're outside that range, you're more than likely going to win that gunfight. P90, very good. Underrated, could be meta. It fits right in there with the MP7. It's not amazing or as good as the MP7 in my opinion, but it does fulfill that role if you kind of just want to mix it up and you're tired of just using MP5, MP7, or Origin. Pila, another troll thing, could be practical. PKM, very good. Could be meta. But what really stops this one is, again, that reload time. If it had faster reload, automatically very good, top tier in my opinion, just because it's not hard to use. Recoil isn't insane. Bullets pretty much just go straight. But the issue is what LMGs have. So it's just hard to use, very viable. You can have a lot of fun with it. You're going to melt people when you hit your shots. But as soon as you have to get in a position to reload and rely on the secondary, you kind of get put in a tricky situation. And this is one that you'll typically pair with that MP7. Then we have the Bison, which for me, the Bison, it's viable. It's not good. It's not meta, and it's not very good. It's just right there. Not bad enough where I wouldn't recommend it, but it's definitely not top tier. R9, very good. Could be meta. Like I've already did a breakdown comparing that to the Origin. I think it's a hair worse just because of its inconsistency issues. But the Dragon's Breath definitely elevated this from probably wouldn't recommend to definitely could be meta. It's very good. Ram 7, It's one of those ones. It's kind of a sleeper. I think it could really fit in here if more people used it, but this ends up being kind of like the Growl. It's very good, but you just don't see as many people run it compared to some of these top tier meta weapons. Burst Renetti. This is actually viable. You can actually use this as your secondary. The burst potential is really good on it. Even after they kind of adjusted it, if you use it just as a standard burst where all the bullets are connecting and you're not using it akimbo, you could use it akimbo still, but I still think, you know, burst is definitely good way to go. Renetti as general, I wouldn't recommend. RPG, troll, and obviously it's practical if you're going to shoot stuff. The Rytech, I think this one's hard to use, viable if you know how to use it, but it just doesn't compete, in my opinion, with the AX50, the HDR, or the Car 98 on a consistent basis. SA87, hard to use, viable, a little bit weird recoil, too slow, even though it does have a smaller mag, shoots 5.56. It has its own things going on, but overall, hard to use, viable. Could you win gunfights? Yes. Could you melt? Yes. In certain scenarios, but overall, there's other guns that just do it better. The Scar, same thing, very viable. Issues with this mag size. If it had a 40 round mag or a 45 like the AMAX, I think you would see this used a little bit more consistently. Obviously it would probably still be very good. It'll probably never be meta just because the recoil, the way it bounces, unless, you know, they figured that part out and maybe reduce the recoil in addition to extending the mag. But overall, I'm going to put that as hard to use, viable. SKS, that again goes with the hard to use part, right in there with the EBR. You land those 2 headshots, you're golden. You don't land headshots, you're kind of in a terrible situation. Strela, same thing. Striker, hollow point rounds, yes, that works. Striker regular, yes, they're both viable, hard to use. Other SMGs just do it better. AE round Uzi, very good, could be meta. If they had a 40 round mag or a 45 round mag, you would see this jump to top tier. They are that good. The Uzi's mobility, recoil, everything about the Uzi's good. Just the ammo. I think in solos, duos, you could say this one's top tier. But when you go in trios and quads, you're a little bit better off maybe using the MP7 or the MP5. And this goes into the very good, could be meta, change could happen there. Regular Uzi, viable, but I don't recommend that thing. VLK Rogue, it's just way too slow. You could use it as a troll, but in general, you're better off using the Origin or the R9. It's just not even close. And then there's the last pistol. I'm gonna go ahead and place that down. Let me go ahead and shrink that up so you guys can see the whole screen. On top of that, there are a couple weapons that aren't on here because they didn't update it, whoever made it. The AN is not good in Warzone. No matter how you stack it, deck it out, good on recoil side, it just doesn't have a competitive TTK, and it drops off pretty hard as you get at range. The ISO, it's okay. I would say it's very good, especially after the buff. I still don't think it's meta. I think you would rank it similar to how you rank the P90. Pretty much almost everything's in line with where the P90 would be, in my opinion, and that's how kind of I rank the ISO. The Fin, very good, and could be meta. The problem again is the reload, so it really could go from being very good, could be meta, or hard to use, viable, like the other LMGs. The recoil is really good on it. It has a lot of confusing attachments, faster fire rate, less damage, vice versa. There's a lot of issues, but really you come down to a reload issue, even with sleight of hand. We already went over the dual Kodachis, the knife. We already went all that. Riot Shield fits in there, and that's pretty much the list. I've pretty much covered all the top tier weapons, very good weapons, and a lot of the hard to use weapons on the channel. If there's a weapon that you're interested in, maybe a breakdown on, a class setup, gameplay, something like that, let me know down in the comments section. I'd love to know your guys' thoughts. Feel free to share, you know, your guys' thoughts on how I rank these. Obviously, I kind of explained why I placed my things where I did. If you enjoyed the video, learned something new, please do a favor, hit that like button. If you're brand new, looking to find your way back for Call of Duty content, make sure you are subscribed with notifications on. Also, a reminder, my Gfuel code is boosted until September 18th. So if you're looking to take advantage, definitely make sure you go ahead and check the link down in the description, or just use code JGOD at checkout. Appreciate all the support on the content. Thank you for watching. As always, have a great day.